Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. As we set up today's discussions, I'd like to ask you a couple of opening questions. The first question is simply this, and that is, do you think of yourself as being psychologically strong? Do you have strength that you can draw upon? The second question is, do you see yourself as being psychologically weak? There are certain aspects of who you are that just don't measure up to the way that you would like it to be, but nonetheless, there it is. Now, if you're an insightful person, I'm hoping that you can answer yes to both of those questions. Yes, I do have some psychological strength on the inside of me. Yes, I also have weaknesses that are a part of who I am, and as we get to know each other, both of those elements can emerge. Now, I'm hoping you can see that the whole pattern of narcissism, the worldview that they carry, prompts them to have a gross misunderstanding of those two qualities, strength and weakness, specifically as it relates to the psychological realm. When you have a mindset that begins with an attitude of selfishness, an entitlement, a need for control, a sense of condescension over other individuals, it causes you to look at those two ingredients, strength and weakness, in a very unhealthy way. Let me see if I can break this down for you. When narcissists think of themselves as being strong, in their mind, their attitude of strength is built upon dominance, and specifically dominance over you. A narcissist's notion of strength is always at someone else's expense. The narcissist requires other individuals in their strength to become compliant and subordinate. It's like, yeah, the way that I know that I'm somebody, the way that I know I'm really strong is I have people that are underneath me that just don't have the ability to be as powerful as me. As a result, another element that comes along with narcissists as they think of themselves as strong is it's built upon an attitude of stubbornness. They're unwilling to receive input from other individuals because, you see, I've got to be dominant and I don't want to hear from you. I mean, why would I need to do that? And as a result, their attitude of strength precludes any notion of empathy. Likewise, as narcissists think of that notion of strength, their attitude is grounded in a mind of certainty. In other words, I have to be right. I have an agenda. I have a way that things are supposed to be, and we need to make sure that things go according to the way that I say it's supposed to be. I know that what I'm saying and I know that what I'm doing is the right way to do it, and there's no bending in that. And so when they think that way, they think, yeah, that makes me strong. Likewise, their mind of strength allows them to become very insistent. How many times have you engaged with that narcissistic person and you can say they're strong-willed and they're pushy, and in their attitude of strength, they think, yeah, I really need to make sure other individuals think like me, so they're persuasive and coercive and insistent in the way that they engage with you and the way they talk about ideas and plans and preferences and opinions, and just right along with that. In their attitude, in their mindset, a narcissist who is acting upon strength, they don't just want to be in charge. I mean, yes, they do, but they need to be in charge. They have to be the one that has the final word, because that validates them, at least from in their mind, thinking, well, if I'm the one that's in charge, if I'm the one that gets to tell people how things are supposed to be, that means I'm really the strong one in the group. And then, above all, to a narcissist, the best way to show that they have personal strength is, let's not admit weaknesses. Narcissists are deeply afraid of being vulnerable. When a narcissist thinks, well, I have to admit my weaknesses and I have to talk about my flaws, that's going to ruin my brand. They don't want to do that. Now, that said, let's segue over and take a look at how they actually view weakness. Narcissists, with their entitlement and with their sense of control and selfishness, view weakness as having to become vulnerable. And in their mind, vulnerable means I'm showing myself to be inadequate. And they absolutely don't want to do that because that means that they would set them up to have to be perhaps dominated by other individuals. At least that's the way they think. Or it makes them think, well, if I show my weaknesses, that means I have to be accountable, and I don't like doing that. The narcissists, as they think of revealing personal weaknesses, means, well, if I express or expose my weaknesses, that means nobody's going to take me seriously. In their mind, weakness means that your personal worth is diminished. You see, to them, weakness equates to shame. A long time ago, they decided, or they learned in their mind way of thinking, that if you are found out to have flaws or mistakes or blunders or miscalculations, you're going to be judged, and that's not going to be good. And so they run from shame because they don't want to have to admit weaknesses with all that means. In addition, in their mind, weakness means that you no longer get to be in the control position. But they have to have that control position because, you see, that's part of their worldview. I should and must be in control. Also, if a narcissist admits to weaknesses, it inhibits their own belief in their exclusivity versus inclusivity. In other words, I need to see myself as being, separate from the rest of you losers out there. And they don't want to be associated with people who don't have the same high and lofty standards as them. And basically to them, admitting weakness means that you expose yourself as an inadequate person, as someone who's inferior. So we go back to those questions. Do you see yourself as a strong person or do you see yourself as a weak person? And honesty says, well, I'm a mixture of both. Narcissists, because of their worldview and the way of thinking, it's like, no, that's not how I think of strength and weakness at all. There are multiple things that narcissists simply don't understand that are a part of this confusion about strength and weakness. Let's take a look at what some of that might be. First and foremost, let's underscore personal strength is not measured from the outside in. In other words, I'm better than you. Personal strength is measured from the inside out. It comes from knowing who you are and being honest about who you are, being a work in progress and being somebody that can be honest and authentic in the way that they engage with individuals. Narcissists don't catch on to that concept at all. To them, they have to be better than, which means that their way of thinking always has to be at someone else's expense. They think competitively. Another truth that they truly don't understand, and that is weakness is inevitable. Nobody can possibly think that they're going to be the best at everything. We all have blind spots. We each have some aspect about the way that we engage with people that is less than perfect and less than ideal. We each make mistakes. We each make miscalculations. We each have some moments where we think, oh, that wasn't my best. And as a result, it's simply an inevitability. Let's just be honest about that. And the narcissist is like, that doesn't calculate in my way of thinking. In addition, when we think about strength and weakness, we want to recognize that we all have a sense of shared humanity. And as we say, well, I do have strengths and I do have weaknesses, that sets us up for what we might refer to as a healthy me too. For example, somebody makes a blunder, and rather than judging them, it's like, I've made my blunders. Let's talk. And as a result, people who have this understanding of our mixed status actually are able to pursue intimacy in a much fuller way. Keep in mind that intimacy is built upon knowing the fullness of what we are. For example, if you know somebody only based on their, real good press clippings, then you don't really know them all that well. But if you know someone and you realize, well, they've got some good press clippings, but they've also made these mistakes over here, it's like, well, I know you more honestly. And as a result, we can have a greater sense of connection with one another because of that shared humanity that I mentioned. The bottom line is, and this is something that narcissists just simply don't understand, is we need each other. And we need to develop a healthy sense of interdependence, and that begins with us being honest about who we are. None of us are void of suffering. We each have some form of suffering. Sometimes it comes from the outside and people have treated us poorly. Sometimes it comes from our own poor decisions. But we're at our best when we're able to say, I like identifying with people who have their flaws and weaknesses. And I like being able to assist other individuals when it comes to me being able to apply my strengths. We can have a mixture of both. It's not an either or kind of proposition. But you see, narcissism is built upon the construction and the propping up of the false self. When we say false, it just means not true. They can't be true. They can't be honest about two simple things like understanding strength and understanding weakness. And because they have such a poor understanding of those two qualities, it virtually guarantees that they're going to come across as phonies, as people who are posers that are posturing, and individuals who just simply don't know how to manage relationships beyond a superficial kind of way. So when a narcissist comes at you and says, well, I have to focus only on the strengths that make me look right and make me look above other individuals, my thinking is, okay, so in other words, what you're saying is you're committed to dishonesty and you're a manipulator. But the person that says, you know what, I definitely have inner strength and it's something that I want to build upon and draw upon. But as you also get to know me, you're going to see that I have my weaknesses too. Why don't we learn how to figure those things out together? Now we have a word for that. It's called authenticity. And when you have that sense of authenticity, that's somebody who really does understand humanity well. I hope that this gives you some good food for thought as you try to understand what you're dealing with when you engage with narcissistic individuals in your life. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. And as you watch the videos on a cumulative basis, I hope it gives you a much broader and fuller understanding of who you are relative to what they think you are. If you need some therapy, and I know many times when you're trying to sift this out, that would be a helpful thing. You know that I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. There's a link below that will take you to their website. You get a 10% discount on the first month. It's online therapy is very popular. It's accessible. It's affordable. So if that's something that you would need, I would strongly encourage you to go in that direction. Likewise, I have my therapeutic courses. And these are meant to, these are like signing up for an online class. They're meant to guide you through a great deal of personal introspection. Each course has multiple videos, like 25, with written documents that go with each videos, guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about having good connection skills. This is me about establishing your personal boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite those controllers. We also have my webinars that have already been presented, but you can still purchase those, and you can look at that through our website that has many articles. We have my podcast, we have my books, lots of resources, and I really appreciate it when you allow me to be on your journey with you. We have plenty of things that I hope can be helpful for you. Okay, you're a mixed bag. I'm a mixed bag. You have strengths, so do I. You have weaknesses, me too. Why don't we just acknowledge that that's what we are? And there's this odd paradox that when you're able to admit your weakness, that's when you illustrate your strength. Narcissists don't understand the concept of strength and weaknesses at all. And that being the case, it's like, okay, I understand where you are, but I'm not going to join you in that kind of thinking, and I'm not going to get mixed up in all of that competitiveness that goes with it. Because you see, I'm someone that wants to have an attitude of dignity, respect, and civility. That's what we do here on Team Healthy, starting with myself and extending toward you. And in doing so, when we're able to think that way, it allows us to move further and further down the path toward peace.